Febro. Sí.
Ronaldo. All right. Well, yeah, let's jump into it. So, hey
Let's
everybody.
do it.
Hey everybody, this is episode 10 of the How to Kick It podcast. I can't believe we've made it to 10 episodes. I'm here with a friend of mine, Ronaldo de Febro. He is an accomplished photographer, videographer. He's currently living in Bali. You want to do a little introduction, Ronaldo?
Wow, that introduction, dude. I'm pretty flattered. Thank you. But yeah, I I'm just a photographer and filmmaker at heart. But I've been lucky enough that I have been able to start a company here in Bali, beautiful island, and now I get to live here full time.
Nice, man. How many years has it been that you've been living in Bali?
It's been I moved here, I think, 2017 or
All right.
2018. So about 4 to 5 years now.
Nice. Did
Yeah,
you make a straight beeline to Canggu, or were you floating around other places of the island?
that's a very interesting question. Actually, when I first came to Bali about 10 years ago, I believe, or yeah, about 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, I was staying in Kuta just like everyone else, and then I started living here full time, and I ended up staying here for about 1.5 years, I think, or about 1.5 years, 2 years, and I lived in Kerobokan in Denpasar.
Oh, wow. That's like that's a very local place to live. Like if you're from
Yeah,
Bali, you'll definitely spend some time in Denpasar.
yeah. It was very local, but at the time as well, I had a little piece of Canggu back then, and Canggu wasn't what it is today. Like
Right.
you would go to Canggu every weekend, hit up Deus. Deus was already there back then. But yeah, it's so different, man. Now you took me back to 10 years ago. I'm just realizing, wow, how much it's changed.
Yeah, I talked to some, I don't want to say old, but older than me, some guys in their late 30s, early 40s that have been coming to Bali for a long time, mostly Australians. And they just romanticize the idea of like the way Canggu used to be with some dirt roads and Deus, like you said, was the only spot in town and everybody. What day of the week they used to throw like a concert once a week?
Sunday.
Sunday, man. Yeah, Sunday session at Deus was always great. And even when
Hmm.
even when I saw it, some people said it was kind of played out already, but I still had some really good times there and I can kind of see how it was more of a community base, but that place just really blew up.
Yeah. I mean, the famous Canggu shortcut was just a dirt road, and you'd go there you'll be surrounded with rice field, literally just rice field around you. And if you leave Canggu around 9, 10 p.m., it's already dark, pretty much a jungle.
Yeah, there's just no
um
streetlights or anything.
no. It was, I mean, people would come to Deus and then it would get really packed, but it was just this little surf village, that someone discovered. And interestingly enough, that now there's all these things surrounding you, from like rice field, as if the land just grew up into these buildings and more humans.
Yeah, it's insane if you see it today. And there's so many big projects that are coming to conclusion. I really don't know what the future is going to be like. Obviously, with the pandemic, it's kind of like a reset button has happened. There's just so few
Hmm.
people around, and I kind of get a little bit of some of the back in day vibes. I also kind of get reassurance from people that saw it the way it was, and they like the quietness, but a lot of these people are also business owners, and they're ready for things to open up. Um, Before we started recording, you and I were actually talking about entrepreneurship and what it takes to start a business. And you brought up an
Hmm.
interesting point that a lot of people might be discouraged to start a business during pandemic. And your opinion is that it could be one of the best times, actually.
Hmm. I really do believe that it is. Well, I always think of things this way. If you're gonna do something good, the best time to do it is yesterday, right? Um, and especially with this pandemic, and I mean it definitely sucked. Don't get me wrong. A lot of businesses are really hurting at the moment. People are losing their jobs. It's a very tough time and it's real. But also, since the way I see it, since we have time to literally sit down and master the art of doing nothing, as I would call it. um, yeah, I just feel like I had a lot, like when I said a lot last year before I started my business, I had at least a couple months where everything, after everything just got wiped out of, everything, as in my project got wiped out last year. People just started leaving the island, and there was no jobs. But that was the moment. That was when the light bulb moment came into my life. Like that afternoon, I was like, hey, you know what? No one's really reaching out to anyone, and I knew that a lot of people came here um, to create. Why don't I just bridge that gap? Because people can't come here to create. Well, I can create for them.
Hmm.
And then how do we go about it? And I feel like there's so many things, like fashion industry, for example, here in Bali. Like it's insane how many new brands are popping up every day.
Hmm.
And that just made me realize, the pandemic alone is it's not enough of an excuse to not start what you've wanted to start. Maybe it is. Maybe it took a pandemic to stop you and then to sit you down and to put that in front of your face. Whatever that thing is that you've been wanting to start. Put it in front of your face and be like, hey, this is the time. Like, stop coming up with whatever excuses. You don't have the time, and then girlfriend, blah blah blah. Now you broke up. A lot of people broke up under the pandemic. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sorry to
for
say that,
sure.
but
I think a lot of relationships got really, really strong, and I also think a lot of
yeah,
relationships ended over this pandemic, for sure. But
yeah.
you bring up an interesting point about time, and so many people talk about, oh, when I have time, when I find time, and you have to make it. And lucky, one of the
Mhm.
few times in life that this pandemic actually gave a lot of people time. It forced them, like you said, into a seat in their homes to self-reflect and figure out, like, hey, what do I want to do about my health? What do I want to do about my education? And then also, what do I want
Mhm.
to do about my potential business? And I think there is going to be a lot of good brands in many different industries that are going to come out of this whole thing because, yeah, if you've ever had an opportunity or wanted an opportunity, I think this is it. And I mean, the economy and purchasing and e-commerce, like it can only go up from here, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I strongly believe in that as well. Like, it's. I mean, I always think it's business, life, relationships, even friendships. Like body weight. It's kind of like it's almost the same as the stock market graph. It goes up and goes down, goes up and goes down. It 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 can never only go down. There has to be a point where it goes back up. It's
Yeah. Inevitably, it's just like, when we're talking about making excuses, okay, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 months, you can kind of make excuses. You don't know where everything's going. But we've been in this pandemic for the better part of what? Is it 2 years almost? I
two
really,
years now. Crazy to think about it. Hey,
yeah, we thought it would be a few months. And like you and I were talking about before, it's like we had no idea how long this was going to last. We can't be like, oh, it's going to be like the last pandemic. It's only going to be this long. Nobody's
yeah.
got any idea. And there's so many moving parts because it's not just about what this virus is doing, it's what governments are doing, how different countries are reacting, what their
hmm
rules are, how they're measuring this whole thing. I bet you, like the last pandemic in, what was it, 19, what was it? I don't even know what year.
1912, I think.
Yeah, 1912, 1915 Spanish flu.
Yeah.
I don't even think they had the ability to measure infected people the way that we're measuring it now. Maybe they could
Yeah.
measure the death rate because it's pretty easy to count a dead person, but
Hmm.
I don't know if they had PCR tests and antigen tests
Yeah.
and
So many
antibody
tests,
tests.
man.
So many tests, man. More than high school or college, like so many more tests.
Yeah.
It's wild.
SAT,
Yeah, SAT,
PCR.
PCR. Yeah. I'm headed back to the States day after tomorrow, so I just took my PCR, so I'm waiting on my results. Hopefully
Oh,
all is
wow.
well. Yeah. Only going to be gone for about 6 weeks. I'll go
Mm.
see some friends and family in the States, and then I'll be back out in Indo full time.
Yeah.
But actually, we kind of skipped over a little bit about your backstory. You are Indonesian, but you have Chinese roots, and you also have a connection to Australia.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you a little bit of my life story. So, the, I, I lived with my aunt. I grew up with my auntie. Actually, my auntie raised me until I was 8 years old, and my mom and dad, they split up when I don't even remember, because I didn't have a memory when they were together, before they
Hmm.
split up. So growing up, my memory was just, I had an auntie, and I know I had a brother that I would see maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. So even me and my brother, although we shared the same mom and dad, but we had a very different background. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's like visiting a
yeah,
friend almost with different families.
yeah. So my auntie actually got married to an Australian Chinese,
Mm.
um, and now I'm stuck with this accent because I kind of had to learn it. So yeah, we would go to Australia every now and then, up until I was 8. Then that's when I met my mom for the first time.
Oh wow.
Yep.
What was that? What was that interaction like? What was that meeting like?
Oh God, man. I still remember every single moment when I saw her for the first time. So I was I was playing in my room, with my cars and toys, and one of there was this housemaid that we had, my nana had. She was there in that room with me, and then she was like, "Hey, get out, your mom's here." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she was like, "No, I'm serious, your mom's here. Go out and say hi to your mom." At the time, I stopped believing I had a mom, because I had asked my dad, I think when I was 5 or 4, saw my dad. And I remember one of the teachers, I think from school, had asked me, "Hey, where's your mom?" And then that was when I started seeing that, okay, so this kid who goes to my school has a person called mom, and this other kid has a person called
Hmm.
dad. That's how a family works.
Right.
But something's wrong with my family. But anyway, so I'll tell you how it went. So I ended up, walking out. I waddled out of that room, and then we had this, what do you call this? Kind of like a hallway out to the door, and there was my mom. My mom was there standing. She hadn't seen me, and then for some reason, I just wanted to call her. So I went, "Mom," and she looked at me. She called my name right away, and then I was like, "All right, this is my mom." For
Wow.
just for some weird reason, I kind of just knew that, yeah, this is my mom.
It's almost like out of instinct or something.
It's a weird feeling, man.
Wow.
It's very weird, because I don't know. It's like, do you believe in energy connection?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as I've gotten older, I've had experiences, and that's what's kind of generated my belief. But maybe when I was younger, I was a bit more skeptical.
Mhm. See, I never, I've never, I've never under, I've never come to understand what energy means. And I had time in my life where I thought, yeah, it's just energy science and all this woo-woo stuff. But like even right now, after we touched about how it was, meeting my mom for the first time, I've talked about it to almost everyone that I know, about how I met my mom. But there was just this instant connection, like I don't know why. It's almost as if I've known her before, like as if I've seen her face, but I couldn't remember when or where it was.
Right. I mean, for somebody to carry you for 9 months and give birth to you,
Yeah,
it's,
man.
whether or not you believe in, like you said, the woo woo and the energy thing, it's kind of hard to think that you wouldn't have some sort of connection that you can't explain with somebody
Mm-hmm.
that basically gave you life. I grew up with my mom. I've spent a lot of time with her. Her and I have a really great relationship, but there is definitely like a warmth and an energy when I'm nearby, and
Mm.
it's not something that I can explain. I don't know if I definitely say it's woo woo mystical energy or whatnot, but there's something that I can't articulate that, I feel when I'm in the presence of my family and my mom specifically.
Yeah,
So this all went down. How old were you at this time when you
I
met
was
your mom?
eight,
8 years old. So in
eight
this
years old.
I don't remember much when I was 8, but obviously this was like a super impactful moment for you, and it still is like very vivid in your memory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny, really. I've always thought that everyone remembers things when, I mean, obviously I've only remembered a few things when I was a single digit human being, right? When I
Right.
was like 3. I've had all these times when I first started reading, when I first started, when I almost got drowned, like those moments kind of, it's it's still there, like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel like I get to be that kid again, and I guess that's what led me to just jump the gun in the middle of a pandemic and say, you know what, I'm just gonna do it.
Right. No more
Yeah,
excuses.
no more excuses. It's because it's funny, right? You you ever had a moment where you wanted to start something and you just, like, all these voices in your head just keeps on saying, it says a lot of funny things, right? Like, I don't have the time today, and I need to do this. You just start compiling your to-do list for no reason.
Yeah, it's amazing
Just
what
so
the mind can create on like how
it's
to
really amazing.
talk you out of things. I mean, just real quick, if you want to talk about one thing that I've been talking about doing for the longest time, is this podcast.
Yeah, man.
Dude, I've been talking about this thing forever, like literally years. And then in the last year, because of the pandemic, I was forced to do some reflection and be like, why the hell am I not doing this? I love doing it. I love like getting to know my friends even better, or getting to know people with different perspective and experiences, explaining it, sharing it with other people. And I went through months, maybe even years of making excuses. Oh, it's not the right time. Oh, I should focus on something else. Oh, I don't know how to do the website. Oh, I don't know how to do the branding. Blah, 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 blah. Like, whatever. Just put something out
Right?
there. You can always make it better, right? And I'd like to think on episode 10 now, man. Look at this.
Yeah,
Crazy.
man. I honestly, I can't believe you're on episode 10. I still remember when you brought it up, and then I remember when we talked about why we travel, right?
Yeah.
Why we travel, and then how you feel, when you go to a foreign country, and then it's like you're on your own again, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have to find the key players, in that city, and then you start going to all these places, and you get to meet people. You don't have any judgment, because you don't even know how how they work, how it works in
Right.
those places, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a real life game when you go to a new place in a new country, and like you said, you got to find the key players. You start figuring out what roles people play. And it's addicting, man. It's definitely the game of life, but it's not a
It
life.
is.
It's not a life that most people live. And there's two types of people. There's people that have a harder time to doing it, depending on what country they come from, societal pressures, if there's gender pressures, and then there's other people that have all the opportunity in the world and they never pull the trigger on it at all.
Man, it like, I mean, Andrew, you traveled a lot, right? I
Yeah,
bet a lot of people asked you, how do you do it?
yeah,
Right?
100%.
Isn't that weird, man? Like when people ask me, because I moved to Bali 4 or 5 years ago. I remember I brought 5 pieces of t-shirts, one button shirt, two pairs of jeans, one pair of shorts, two pairs of shoes, and I remember like counting down the days until I fly with just that backpack, my laptop, and my camera.
Hmm.
And I kept on repeating it to myself. I'm just gonna make it work from now on. If people ask me who I am, I'm a filmmaker. And I don't know if I already was or I wasn't, but in my mind, I'm a filmmaker. I make film.
Right.
Therefore I'm a filmmaker. I I just kept going, and then 4 years later, people ask me, how did you do it? I'm like, man, trust me, you can too. And you've had all the things you need in life, like some of these people, bro, they have literally have everything. If you want, you just need to do it.
Yeah. What's crazy is like I'm not going to name any names because I mean everybody's got to live their own life, but if you
Yeah.
look at just financial opportunities or like wealthy families, my friends with the wealthiest families and like the most opportunity and freedom have generally been to some like the fewest places in the world.
And isn't that crazy?
It blows my mind.
It blows my mind.
Yeah, sometimes they get caught up on the aspect of safety and security, what that means. And obviously, if you haven't been to so many places, it's easy just to like look up an article and be like, oh, that's a dangerous place to go to. Well, it's an article and it's a couple statistics. It doesn't really paint an accurate picture.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
you read one article.
Yeah, and also like if you have a good financial base in whatever country you're in, you can kind of take advantage of the nicer things in that country, and maybe you're just a little less interested in exploring because wherever you are, you've kind of mastered it. You and I were just talking about wanting to go to a new place, and like we have to figure it out, right? You have to find the key
Yeah.
players. You have to find who's like the head of the village, or who are the business owners, or where's the party at, or whatever it might be. But if you spend a lot of time in one place or the original place, you don't have to do any of that work anymore. Like
Yeah.
the social work is done. And then you just
Hmm.
have to focus on your finances, where if you're traveling, you have to do everything all the time and everything's always changing so fast.
Yeah. It's crazy. And what's I mean, I I always feel like when I travel to a new place that I've never been to, or maybe I've been to, and I try something new, you know, it's like learning a new language, right?
Hmm.
You had to drop all of your armors, all of your weapons, everything you thought you knew. You don't.
Yeah,
You
you have to be super vulnerable, and if you really want to learn, you have to be open and okay with making mistakes and even failing. And a lot of people don't like to do that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's a very scary place once you get to a certain stage. I mean, we're both getting older as well. I'm not gonna say we're old, but each year I get older, this is what I realize. I I because I take a lot of risk in life, right? Like starting this business in the middle of a pandemic, and then meeting my business partners, and then taking projects that I thought I would never be able to finish.
Hmm.
And sometimes I ask myself, why do I put myself in those situations? I see a project and I'm like, this is a little bit too big. It's kind of scary, but I think I have to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with traveling. Traveling, meeting new people. You like, okay, no. For me, when I'm traveling, I'm like, okay, no one. I don't even know these people now. Like, why should I feel ashamed of, asking them or finding out who this is? You don't
Mm-hmm.
have a friend, Ronaldo. Here, you're on your own. You can be anything you want. You want to be a magician? Go ahead and tell people you're a magician. You know what I mean? Just learn it. It's a blessing that, and it still blows my mind every time. Um, when I go to a new place and I can see that, oh God, you can really, it doesn't matter how old you are,
Mm-hmm.
how, whatever things you've done in your past, you can always start over.
Yeah. You can always start over. You can always better yourself. You can always reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to go complete 180, but you just pick the good things in your life and you start doing things that you want to do. You picked up surfing when you were what, 19, 20 years old?
19, yeah. When I was
Yeah.
19.
When
Yeah.
you told me that with that memory of like you drowning,
Yeah.
I started thinking about that time we took that trip to Kadungu and surfed. That was one of the biggest waves I think I've ever seen in my life. It was like a 3-story building just coming at us all.
That was huge,
It
man.
was such a mistake to paddle out that day. We were the only people out there, I think.
Yeah, yeah. God, I remember. I was like, man, I didn't know it was gonna be this big. It didn't look that big from the shore.
I think it got bigger, or we just perceived it differently. It was the people I remember was out there. I believe it was you, me, Ingrida from Norway, and Ada from Finland. Do you remember who else was out
Yeah,
there with
yeah, yeah,
us?
yeah, 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 yeah. I remember those girls too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. It's such a long time ago. I think that was like 2018, maybe.
Yeah, man. It's been a while. Hey.
Yeah, I think you and I just met through Saskia, actually, maybe not that much before then. And you were always
Yeah.
like, dude, you got to come to Kadungu. It's so good. And nobody's out there. I said, I don't know, man. It's pretty far. But it was only, what, like 15, 20-minute drive? Like, it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nothing. It's absolutely
That's
nothing.
what Bali does to you, man.
Oh yeah, I'm now living in Lombok, and I mean everything is at least 15 minutes away. So
Yeah.
driving 30 minutes or even 40 minutes to go surf is like whatever. I'm totally used to it now. And the roads out here are so big, and there's no traffic. It's awesome.
See, that's what I don't get as well about this thing called time, right? It's weird, isn't it? Like 15 minutes and 5 hours can literally feel the same depending on what you do with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I mean, 15 minutes in traffic is a lifetime, but if you got 45 minutes cruising through the countryside on your motorcycle going to surf, that's like part of the fun. It doesn't seem
Yeah.
like any time at all. But let's focus back here on the business that you're working on right now. It's called
Right.
Bali Media
House.
House. Oh, I knew it.
Yeah.
Bali Media House. I actually, so a lot of people know this, and I haven't really brought it up because we've been in talks, but I just did a deal in Lombok with my business partner, Matt. Shout out to Matt Mullins, greatest guy on
Wow.
the planet.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. We picked up a surf camp here in Lombok. It's called LMBK Surf Camp. The previous owner, finished the construction in about 2019. He had about 3 months of operation and then got hit with COVID. And it was just really bad timing. We ended up having friends, a mutual friend. They put us in contact. We talked for a few months. We struck up a deal. And then we took over the property. And what we're doing is, I think I might have even gotten the idea from you a little bit, is we're just changing it from LMBK Surf Camp to LMBK Surf House. And that's the only thing that we're
Damn.
changing. Yeah. So we stole the Bali
Strong.
Media House. Yeah, I think it is really strong, and
Yeah.
it's more than just a surf camp. It's also kind of like a boutique hotel as well. And so we're trying to do a combination of people that are already established surfers that just want something that's comfortable, close to all the amenities that Kuta Lombok has to offer, as well as all the resources and insight for surfing. And then the other half of the business is that whole surf camp. Hey, I want to learn, or hey, I'm intermediate and I want to get better. And trying to marry those two groups, because a lot of times there's a big disconnect between intermediate and advanced surfers and their kind of attitude towards beginners. So it'd be nice to kind of connect those two communities so we could have a little more collaboration and friendliness in the water, because I think that's what it's all about.
Bring the fun back to surfing.
Yeah, bring the fun back to surfing. Keep the positive vibes with surfing. But anyway, enough about that. I'll designate a whole episode to talking more about that. But thanks for the congratulations. I appreciate that. But Bali Media House. So you guys are doing everything, right?
Yes. So the idea with Bali Media House is, last year, when I launched Bali Media House last year in October, I figured, I came to a problem that I was wondering how to solve, because I was a solopreneur back then, and I know I had client problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have clients, and I was trying to figure out how do I market, my service to a wider audience while saving my money. And then I just realized, oh my God, we need people that actually care about growing, giving a fair fighting chance to the small guy. I was a small guy, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, I still am. I'm a small guy, and I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna hit up all these smaller businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, and give them the chance to make exotic content from Bali, one of the most exotic islands in the world.
Right.
So that's exactly what I did. I just sent, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 emails in the first 3 months. Whoa. And I connected with a lot of great people.
Wow, man. You really dug in there and grinded through that. And
I did, man.
And it's paying off, which is, hopefully going to inspire people listening to this podcast that, you take the time and you sit down and grind through it. I mean, only good things can come of it. And worst case scenario, you would have learned, to change your approach, and then you would have tried it again. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the, like, even all of the big projects as well. It's crazy that a lot of people don't are kind of forgetting emails. Mm-hmm. And the statistic also says that there's 4.6 billion, I think, email users in the world. So half of the population on this planet are using emails. That's just the easiest way to connect with businesses, and yet people are so focused on ads and contents instead of just connecting to people. And people always ask me, how do you close so many businesses in the middle of a pandemic? There's no secret sauce. There is no secret sauce. My secret sauce is there's no secret sauce. I talk to them as human beings. I ask them, hey, why do you need a video? Why do you need a photo? What's the real problem here? Are you trying to reach out to a new audience? Because some people. Let me tell you a story. I had one potential client that I fully refunded the money because we didn't end up doing the project. It's because he was trying so hard to develop the project, but then I was like, yo, look, the last thing I want to do is take your money and make you something that's not going to work. That's what I said. And I said, I'd rather give you your 50% deposit back if we're not going to do it properly. And a week later, he came back to me after a few back and forth, and then he was like, you know what? You're right. I'm not ready. I mean, at that moment, my ego was bruised as well, because I was like, oh, you know what? It kind of bit me in the bum, and we didn't end up doing the project. And I was like, maybe it's for the better. I want to just stay honest to all these people and stay true to myself, which is, it pulls me back to the reason why I even started the company, is to give people a fair fighting chance. Everyone can make great content now, and yet, instead of trying to build a relationship, build the business, and, help people build their businesses, we just we always put numbers on and values, in terms of money on people, on people, really, on human beings.
Yeah.
And so what happened after that, fast forward about, I think 3-4 weeks later, the very same guy came back to me, and he was like, "Hey, can I stop by at your office?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Came by, and then we talked for a little bit, and he was like, "You know what? Maybe this is maybe I wasn't ready, but I still want to do it. I still want to try it, because I trust that you can execute, and I want to know, even if I'm going to fail on this thing, I'm still going to learn, and I know you will be the best person for me to do it with." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is beyond just, this is beyond just doing business. Now every single thing has a purpose, right? Whether it became successful or not, we're both going to learn."
Yeah.
And I don't doubt that thing will grow, because, we were both had the chance to step back a little bit and take some time off of that and make that decision. And what came out of that, conversation is, literally, bro, we ended up simplifying the whole thing, from a bunch of ideas that he had at first, simplified everything to maybe 10% out of everything. And in that moment, it was still the same idea, but I was like, you know what? This is it. It's simple enough for me to understand, for him to explain. It's just now you can see clearly 1 + 1 = 2, instead of all these other variables,
Yeah.
And I think, had I not have the guts to tell him, look, to tell him what I thought and I felt at that time, and had I not been honest to myself, I would probably have taken that job, try to do something that just unaligned with where he was going. He wasn't aligned with where he wants to go. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it sounds like he really valued your honesty and integrity to kind of give up the money in order to tell him, like, hey, you're not ready, or, maybe our working dynamic isn't going so well. And, emotions run high and people get really committed to their ideas, but with a little time and patience, what happened to you is what they kind of tell maybe young entrepreneurs is going to happen to them. Like, hey, be patient, be honest, have integrity, and like the business will come. And this is like a great story that really showed that example, that you guys worked it out and were able to do a collaboration together.
Yeah, man, the honesty part, even being honest with yourself, it's crazy. Like, this is my experience as well. In the past, I would, I would lie to myself. I'd be like, it's not scary. I can do it. It's fine. And it'll only bite me in the bum big time. But now I realize, when it's scary, fear is like my friend now, It tells me things that I need to do. It's kind of like a compass for me. Oh, I'm scared of this thing. Okay, I'll look at that thing in the very eye, and then I'll tell myself, you know what, Ronaldo, it is scary. I'll acknowledge it, and I'll take that time to make sure I don't miss anything. I'll just go back to planning and be like, okay, it is scary. We've planned it, and I'll answer every single question that I can ask myself in the planning. And even if it's just a 50, like a, when you put it on the scale, um, in your decision making process, even if it's just 1% more, it weighs that it's heavier towards the yes. I'll go for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's scary, but my gut, towards the yes is much stronger. My gut feeling, then I'll go for it.
Yeah.
Because if not, you just end up not making any decision, and then again, time, right?
Yeah.
And you lose time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that when you do have fear, it's definitely like a natural reaction, and your mind and your body are trying to guide you. And it's good to listen to it, it's good to acknowledge it, but every time that you have fear, you also have an opportunity to be brave. And there are times where you'll say, hey, this is just too much for me. It's not something I want to take on right now. Or you just plan and get organized and start to realize that, yeah, maybe it was scary at first, but as I put it all on paper or, in my Google spreadsheet or whatever, it's totally doable. And now next time something comes around, it's not going to be as scary. And you'll be able to take on even bigger projects because it's going to take something that's bigger and scarier to give you that same kind of shock value.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely.
It's very interesting what you said, by the way, when you said when you face with something that's scary, it's an opportunity for you to be brave. I really like it.
Yeah.
That is very on point.
I stole it from somebody, I'm sure. I can't remember who, but I doubt I'm the first person to think of that. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I truly believe it, man. Coming out to Indo this most recent time, like I was totally fine with this whole thing going down, and then I think it was the night before my flight, and I was like, dude, like I'm really going out here to like pursue this business opportunity. I don't think I slept at all that night. Like I was tripping a little bit. But now that I'm out here, like I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. I'm super stoked and excited for the future and excited for you, man. And I'm glad we finally got to sit down and have this talk. Man. We've been talking about it for months. I have a whole like list of people that have been trying to get on the podcast and schedule with me. So I'm glad that, you and I got to do it and you made it in the top 10, man. Number 10.
The lucky number.
Yeah.
No, I'm very glad. I'm very happy you finally started it. Yeah, I'm proud of you, man.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
It's great. Yeah. I'm looking forward to more and more of your episodes.
Yeah, thank you. Have you listened to a few here and there?
I listened to is it Nigel's?
Nigel?
No.
Might have been a different podcast.
No, I listened to his second. I forgot the name. But
there's second episode. Emre is number 2.
Yeah, number 2.
The Turkish guy. Yeah, he's in Bali right now. I think he's in Uluwatu or Canggu. He's also prospecting different business opportunities with another friend of ours, Burak. So yeah, 2 Turkish guys. They're on the hunt for businesses and they're collaborating with other, I think, Turkish people to bring some money into Indonesia. So best of luck to those guys if they're listening. Lots of love. Luck. Yeah. And I mean, you just got to put in the time and start getting organized and having those meetings, and before you know it, boom, you'll find an opportunity. And I'd like to think that Bali Media House and Lombok Surf House is just the beginning of more to come.
Yeah, I believe so. And kudos to you for taking for being so brave and coming out of Lombok and started that. The surf house business as well. It's a lot. It takes a lot, man. It takes a lot of balls for someone to just be, fuck it, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been leaning on a lot of different people for support and perspective, and the thing is, though, is it hasn't all been positive. Not everybody was like, "Oh, this sounds like a really good idea." Like, how do I get involved? There's been a lot of backlash. People are like, "Oh, the times are so uncertain. It's a pandemic. There's no tourism." And I'm like, yeah, that's why it's a great time to do it. And my business,
Exactly.
yeah, and my business partner has been so down to earth and so grounded. And just when I freak out about something, I like call him and I'm like, hey, like I don't know about this, and he's like, dude, it's fine. He's like, we're getting into this business and we're looking at the next 20 years. We're not looking at the next 20 months. You know?
That's a very good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been super awesome. Again, my buddy Matt. See you in a few weeks, bro. If you're listening to this episode.
Shout out to you, Matt.
To you, Matt. So yeah, dude, we covered a little bit of here and there. I know I don't know if you want to talk about it too much, but I know you recently had a injury to your knee.
Oh yeah.
How's that?
Big one.
Yeah, and that's impacted how much you've been able to surf, if at all, right?
God. Yeah, I haven't been able to surf, but injury is a funny thing. That's one thing I can share because I've had a lot of injuries throughout my life. I had an accident when I was 13. I think I was a bike racer before, so I raced bikes, obviously, and I had an accident that almost got me to lose my left leg, and luckily I didn't.
Wow.
Injury is interesting. This is it's a very interesting thing because I'm pretty sure you've had injuries as well in your life, right?
Yeah. Nothing
Yeah.
too severe like that, but I mean, I've been, out. I've been taken out where I couldn't do what I wanted to do at different times, but nothing like almost losing a leg.
Yeah. Well, like this injury, it's bad. Don't get me wrong, it sucks because I buckled my knee. So just to give a little context, I busted 3 ligaments: my ACL, LCL, and MCL, and also my meniscus. So I'm hoping to get a surgery end of this month. But it's bad, but it's worse when you just hear about it,
Mm-hmm.
like when you hear about it, when you read about it, you're like, oh, you won't be able to do anything and blah blah blah. But again, it's just like it's just like traveling, you get that. Maybe you go to a place, in this case injury, and I get to do all these things that I probably wouldn't have done if I didn't have the injury.
Like, what? Can you expand on that a little bit? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, like for example, I love surfing so much. I can surf 5 hours, 6 hours a day. Like I'll surf in the morning, surf again on sunset, and now I'm able to put those 6 hours into my business every day, getting to know my family more every day, getting to know my friends more every day with those extra 6 hours, just because I can't surf because of the injury.
Right.
It's very interesting. Injury is very interesting, and I don't know. I think this injury, because this is the second time I've buckled my ACL. I'm not proud of that. But this second time, it taught me a lot about perspective and how to angle your perspective when you're looking at certain things in life.
I think that the physical body kind of feeds your ego a lot of times, when you're able to run around and do whatever you want. You take just walking for granted, or if you're pulling into tight barrels right before you buckle your knee.
That is so true. That is so true.
You feel like Superman. You feel like you can do anything, and then all of a sudden you have these setbacks. And you start thinking about, like, one, it could always be worse, right? That's usually the first thing that when you start to kind of get over the fact that you have an injury, you said, okay, well, hindsight, at least, I can still have my leg, I still have my knee. And then from there, you start focusing on, like you said, the things that are truly important, like friends, family, community, business, and I guess legacy. Legacy is very important to a lot of people.
Yeah,
and
it's this one's very humbling for me because last time I had the injury, I was living with my brother. So I had people to help me out. But when I had this injury, man, it was, I got to a very dark place, and it bruised my ego a lot as well. I'm glad it did, because I struggled with asking for help. I struggled a lot with that. But this injury, the first 2 to 4 weeks, I couldn't get on the scooter. I couldn't even, make my coffee in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't clean my bed, which is the first thing I always do in the morning. And I love cleaning my bed. And I couldn't do all these little things that I enjoy. And having, people just reaching out to me and literally beg me to help me. Like these people, have come up and shown me that, hey, you have a lot of people that care about you, and it's okay to ask for help, and it's not a bad thing, to ask for help. And just, and you'd be surprised. I was surprised by how many people, like a lot of my friends, just out of nowhere, friends that I hadn't talked for, a few weeks, months, just showed up and brought me food and literally just took care of me. My cousin came out from Jakarta, ended up helping me around as well. And it was very humbling, because,
Yeah.
you realize you were born alone and you will die alone. But throughout that journey in between, you can't just, I mean, you have to be able to rely on yourself, but you need other people as well, to live. You can't live in your own thoughts. And, just like any other human being, sometimes, most of the times, you're wrong about what you think about. And that this injury taught me a lot in the last year.
I think,
Yeah.
I don't wish anybody to have an injury or any sort of struggles in life. But if you do, and you're either willing to ask for help or forced to ask for help, those are moments where you'll really see where your real friends are and the quality family members that you have, because they will come out without you having to beg. You might not even ask them. They might just see an Instagram post and they might reach out to you and say, hey, I heard you were hurt. Can I do anything for you? And it's
100%, man.
Yeah, and I think it's kudos to you, man, because these people aren't coming around because you have a hurt leg. These people are coming around because you've been such a good guy to them, for however many weeks, months, or years that you've known them, that they're finally jumping at an opportunity to repay the favor of friendship, or repay, if you've helped them out, or not even repay, just, be there for you. So
Yeah.
all those people that showed up, like, thank you to them for helping you out. But at the same time, man, it's
Thank
because
you.
it's because of
You know who you are.
Yeah, you are. I wasn't one of them. Sorry, everybody. I was not one of those people to help. I think I saw you. I saw you in Canggu at the gym with your knee brace on, and I called you RoboCop. I think that was about all I did for you.
Hey, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I don't know. It's kind of, at the moment, because I haven't done the surgery yet, it became a part of me. Became a part of my life, my day to day life. I just have to have the brace every day, but it's helping me. Yeah, and it's crazy. Just things like injury, and yeah, it really surprised me how I have doubted them, probably because I got to places like, oh, maybe I should just do this on my own again. It's fine. I've done it. I don't want to hassle people. But it's very surprising how much people are actually willing to help you only if you ask.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you need to do. Just ask.
And for
what you want.
I would say 99% of people, asking is probably the hardest thing for them to do. I also think it's one of the most mature things that you can do as a person, is humbling your ego and realizing that you can't do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very humbling.
Yeah.
It's very helpful to. It's becoming my mantra every day, man. I look into myself every day, and one of the most important reminder that I tell myself every day is have humility.
Yeah.
Have humility. Just remembering those times when I couldn't walk, couldn't even make coffee. I ordered Gojek. I can't even pick it up.
They had to like let themselves in and drop it in your lap for you.
Yeah, I was wearing crutches at the time, and my brain still didn't connect, and I was like, yeah, I can do it. Went out, and I was like, now how am I gonna take this bag of food and and get my drink? And you have to plan everything way ahead. Like, okay, now I'm going to the kitchen. It's gonna take X amount of time. What do I take from the kitchen? Okay, I'm taking a bottle of water, taking cutleries, and that's it. That's all I can carry. Okay, cool. Do that. Okay, I'm going out. I have to go to the hospital. What else can I do on the way? Because I can't just take advantage of going out right now. Yeah.
I mean, with the limitations physically, and then obviously like with COVID restrictions, that it makes it really tricky. But I'm glad to see that you turned a negative into a positive, and it sounds like things are, really working out for you. Again, I think we've said it a few times, but if you ever need any photo or video content created, check out Bali Media House.
Check it out.
They can find you on. I'm guessing you got a website, Instagram page, easy to find.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Website is www.balimediahouse.com. If anyone wants to check out my Instagram, it's so easy to find as well. I'm sure I'm pretty much just / Ronaldo de Febro everywhere. Instagram, I'm on Twitter. I haven't been very active, but Instagram, Facebook, and what's the other one? LinkedIn. Yeah.
LinkedIn. Whoa, that brings me back. Man. What about? I just updated my LinkedIn profile actually. That's pretty interesting. I get a lot of automated responses of people saying like, "Congrats on the new role." It's like a robot.
See, like those things as well. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's great that LinkedIn is giving idea of what to say to people, but it literally takes 2 seconds to say what you mean to say, and it makes all the differences in the world.
Totally.
Like you just know, right?
Totally. Like you could write, if it's a perfect automated response, means nothing. Something that's like a little awkward but still like genuine, that carries so much more weight, and people actually read it and think about it, and maybe they'll get back to you. But anyway, man, dude, thank you for your time. I'm glad we finally sat down and knocked it out. Everybody listening, thank you for listening. Episode 10, we did it. And hopefully, the next 10 will be just as good, if not better.